Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be your teacher. My name is Vladimir Valouch, and in the past I'm in Conquer for 3.5 years right now. I worked heavily on Android. I used to be Android developer. Recently, I really fell in love with Kotlin, and especially with the multi-platform part, which I will show you later on in this course, where you can write one code and very easily create networking, storage, and business logic in one place in Kotlin, and then we use it in both platforms on Android, iOS, or even in certain cases in JavaScript, which is pretty great. Today, what we are going to go over is to have a look at the properties, how actually we can create them, what are the backing properties, whether Kotlin has something like a nullability or not, what are the delegates, how you can postpone in some way the delegation or actually avoid to have anything nullable. We will have there is one task which I prepared for you, where right in the beginning we will set up everything as nullable, like in all Java style, which is sort of crazy. And then we will try to use what Kotlin offers us in order to avoid it. With the delegates, I believe you will like it. And destructuring declarations, that's probably something for those of you who are, for example, familiar with Swift or Python, it's normal. It was not normal in Java, and Kotlin knows this pretty well, so I will definitely show it to you. And as the last cherry on a cake is builders, which is something pretty hard in the beginning, or if you look at it from the first sight, it might look that, oh, it's so hard, I don't really understand what is behind it. So what I will try to do in this lesson is actually go from the backward. I will show you how nice code can be created through the builders, and then we will try to convert the code back to the builder or underlying classes which needs to be created so that you can use the builders. With that said, let's move to the tasks. The first task, as usual, is to open your project or create a brand new one. So I have here my IntelliJ. So I'm going to click Kotlin, JVM idea. That's pretty much it. Next, I will name it lesson 5, or just lesson 5, and let it open. By the way, if any one of you will have any questions during this course, please write it into preferably into the Slack, so that we can later on, or maybe even during this lesson, answer it. Don't hesitate to directly ask. I'm going to create, as usual, the classic main file, which we use pretty much always. So I guess the majority of you is already familiar with it. Or just going to check that everything is running. Hopefully, yes. Right, so hello world was printed. Let's continue. Should I leave it like this, or shall I try what we had the last lesson where we had it split this way? Let me try to shrink it a bit. I'm probably not going to use the full width of the id anyways, so that we can all the time see also the tasks. I'm going to start with the task 1. As you can see, Hello World is running, so there is no need to stop here unless someone of you will tell me that I should slow down. In this task 1, we're going to create a brand new class named new car. All I do is just right-click, new Kotlin new class. We'll call it new car, and I choose new class. All right, I have my new class created. And I'm saying that I would like it to have a final constructor with following variables or following parameters. And that's actually where we start with the properties. We are defining properties right now. In Kotlin, we will have an opportunity to try multiple of those. The first one, which I'm going to show you, is the constructor properties. So I'm going to create a final name, which is type string, and I'm going to add build year, which is of a type int. Let me check if I have something else here. Oh yeah, and one more, price. Price, it is also integer. Well, it's everything is comma separated. This way, I have just defined a brand new class which has 3 properties, by the way, public ones. So if I go back here into main KT, I will try to create a new instance of that new car. And what you can see, IntelliJ is already telling me that there are 3 properties available. The first one is name, builder, and build year, and the third one is price. So I need to fill it in somehow. So name, what would be the name? What about super? Let's call it Tesla S. What else? Year, unfortunately, I do not remember the year, so I will set this 2018, and the price, something like this. I will create a local variable out of it, which should be more than enough for me. So what I did, I created a brand new class, new instance of it, and provided it some setting. So if I will try to print it out, how it looks like, line, all I need to do is a new car. As step number 2, I'm mentioning overwrite to string, because before I actually go there, I will show you why. Because if you run it this way, you're just printing the memory pointer. So you need to overwrite to string. And for that one, I would like to show you how to do it super easily. Just if you are using Mac, it's control and control return, and just type or choose generate to string, and choose all the parameters. Once you do it and run the code again, you will see that this time the new car is nicely printed, and I know what I'm working with. Nevertheless, this approach to variables and properties could be pretty nice, but in the end, might be tiring, especially if you do not want to fill everything each and every time. Let's say that you know that right now all new cars will have a year by default of a current year, which is 2020. What would be the result out of this one? Okay, let me create another new car. And here, what will you see? I can just define name. What I'm using right now is called the name parameter, which we mentioned previously. Yeah, I will try this. Superb, whatever. Build here, I do not need to define it. And the price will be, again, something like this. Line, superb. And I'm going to print the superb again. And as you can see, even without the defining, I was able to provide the default parameter to the property. The way how I did it is that I simply use this equals 2020, which means if I provide any value, this one won't be used. If I don't provide it, it will be automatically used. It might be convenient to just set it up this way for everything and forget about it. The task number 4 is that we are supposed to also add non-constructor final param, because what I was just showing is that everything is bundled in the constructor, and you might be wondering, is it possible to use it also somewhere else, or define properties or so also in a different way? The answer is yes. Let's define brand. So what will be our default brand? Let's say we are a manufacturer. I'm from Czech Republic, so probably the easiest one for me would be to choose Škoda, but prefer to choose any other. It's not a product placement, and they are not paying me for advertise. It's just that came up with it. What you can see, I've just run our main KT once more, but our information about the brand is not here. And now I will ask you, why do you think that it is not there? I know it, but I would like you to write something into the chat, at least quickly. I intentionally forgot about something. So try to tell me what I forgot about or left out. Yes, exactly. It's not into string. And again, the easiest way how to refresh it is this way. Just two clicks and I was done. And if I run it now, voila, the brand is there, which is great. That's actually why I really like IntelliJ. It makes quite a lot of things super easy. But let's move to the task 2. I believe it's not in the return of the right function. Yes. String origin. Yes. Cool. Everything clear to everyone for now? Just click yes or type yes. But I believe so. Okay. Task number 2. We are going to play a little bit more with the properties because I really would like you to understand how beautiful the Kotlin is in access or and what you can do with the properties. We're going to create another class, which is called this time Bazaar car. What? And this time what we're going to do is we're going to define constructor properties, parameters to be correct. And those are very similar to what we previously used. So I can actually already copy quite some stuff from here. By the way, by default, these are public. If I would like to limit access to the variables mentioned here, I can do it this way. Just side note. Okay. With this, I define the non-final parameters, which is great. They do not have default values, but because I don't want to type them all the time, I can simplify it a little bit. What would be the oldest car? Just car. Build year. Let's use the Unix time and the price 1. Okay, so I have my default values. Let's try a new thing. I haven't previously asked you, but what do you think if I write superb brand equals and I will try to set it to something, would it work? By the way, new car had everything final. It was behaving like a car from the car factory where it's everything set up, and you once it's out, you have 0 options to modify it, or you always have options to modify it, but not that easily. In this particular case, correct, and you can't modify it. But once you have a bazaar car, which is usually cheaper, you can start to really play with it a lot. That's why I use it, and especially while it stays in the bazaar, the price according to the current setup can go up, or the price even can go down. By the way, this might be tricky to see that I'm directly accessing the variable. I'm not actually. That's Kotlin goodness, which is hiding getters and setters from me. So we will get to it very soon. But for now, let's have a look at our bazaar car. Let's add the toString so that we can observe it a little bit more. Line bazaar car, and let's run it. And yes, our bazaar car is by default set up and the price is 12, which is great. Nevertheless, okay, print create class bazaar car. Yep, print out info. I believe I just finished number 2, which is great. So let's go for the task number 3, which is customizable car. Again, I'm going to create another class. Oh, what's happening? Okay, I'm going to define this time non-final non-final parameters. And as you see, I'm not defining the constructor parameters. So I'm going to play a little bit more with it in a few seconds. And now, as you can see, it's also screaming that there are no initializers. So let's initialize it to something again. With this, I can create customized car, which is pretty great. And what we would like to find out if we can somehow prevent that the build year will go below 2000. And the answer is yes. And it is done this way. In general, what I did, I just clicked behind 2020, enter tab, and set to write set. With the first letter, you already see the options which are there. And what I'm going to use, I'm actually going to choose a lambda or lambda function, which allows me to play with the value way more. And the idea is that if the number is lower than 2000, I won't set it. So if value is lower than 2000, let's do it this way. Field equals value. So let's check it out if it's working. Let's do a tiny cleanup. Customizable car. And as usual, actually, I know that I could have used the one and very same car and change it over and over. But I believe that once I provide the code to you, it might be easier to follow what was really separated in each tray rather than go video second by second and back and see where the thing changed so much. So what I'm going to do first time, I'm going to print the car with our default setup so that we see what's already there. And then I'm going to try to set the build year in something different. Car build year. Let's change it to 2012. Okay. Still running, and we can see that the value was changed to 2012. And now the real challenging part is that I would like to actually change it to 997. And the value should stay 2012. And the value stayed 2012. With the task number 3, we are going to play a little bit more with the getters. I hope that you like it, and let's see what other magic we can do with getters and setters. Especially this one, define own getter for price that increases value each time that someone asks for a value. Oh, Lanvu, any question? Should I stop? Yes, yes. The answer is, or the question is, if I use the set here defined, then it's only for the build year. Yes. In Java, you would write set build year. Here, you just write a set directly below the variable, and it will map it only to it. The same way, what's a little bit similar thing. What's going to happen with this get? Here, I'm going to use backing property. Sorry, lost the name for a second. But in general, if you would like to create a backing property, it's very same to the property that you are normally using. Just you need to provide the value. You need to set it with underscore, or it's convention. And so now each and every time I call get, I should obtain price, which will keep on growing. So let's have a look. Price was 21, 22, 23. If I would just right now write print line, and just car price, and again run it, we will see that it still keep on increasing. The great part is that this price is visible from outside. This is internal. Okay. Yeah, cats.
But can I have a question?
Yes, sure.
Why don't you increase like directly the value of price, not the backing one, just the price before you return it? Or
I could,
because
but
the value started at 1, and then first call you return 20.
What would happen is that internally, if I would try to use this with just a price, each, as you can see, it's underlying the same thing. So if on get for price, on get for price, it will call this get, which will do plus plus and call the get, which will do plus plus and call the get.
Yeah.
It will end up in a loop.
Okay. But then I'm a little bit confused that you start on value 20, even though in the constructor you said you want to start at 1.
Because I overrided it, and in general, once I define also the setter, I can avoid it. Or I can do, sorry, here. By the way, this is what I wanted to show you. It's not really accessing the variable, like the pointer in the memory, but it is using the getters each and every time, which really can end to endless loop. That's why I'm using this backing property to help me out. So if I will run it now, it should be by default 20, and again go up. Is it clear now? Or
yeah, yes. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for question. Oh yeah, this could be the next step is to define setter for price that prints out previous and a new value before setting it. Can someone guess why this feature would be interesting and where you could use it actually? Okay. In general, this is the easiest way for you how to implement observable or observe state change of any value. Let's do it this way. Old value is what we currently have in the price. Value is value. And all what I need to do now is what we did previously, field equals value. Now it's printing the same thing because I'm not setting the price anywhere. But let's change the price here. Car price equals 30. We'll keep the structure relatively the same and just run it. Okay, we have information that old value because I actually used the get. So first asking for it, increase the value, but I set it to 30. And yeah, because I'm pointing to price, let me fix it. Okay. I'm getting information about increases. And if I would like to prevent it from increasing even more, all I need to do is actually obtain the value from, oh, wait, sorry. Value from backing property. So 24, 24, and I increase it to 30. From the 30, I increase it to 40. With that, we can go to the next one, and that is experimental car. I'm going to create experimental car. Which is again a new class, and this one is very similar to the previous ones, but this time I'm trying to shrink it down a little bit so that it will be faster to implement. And what I'm going to do right now is something what is really well known to everyone who ever used or created anything in Java and wanted to use dependency injection, right? At the beginning of each of your class, there were actually two approaches which I've seen. Either the people created variables which were nullable and settable through the constructor, or made protected variables directly in a class, properties of the class, which were again nullable. With this, it had this tiny issue that you always need to check for the nullability. The annoying part in this one is if I will try to create experimental car, I will simply create it. It's not such a big issue, right? Okay, let's comment this one out. And what I've just did, I've created experimental car. Let's say in the experimental car, I would like to set some values. So Proton engine would be just engine. Experimental car, sonic brakes would be just regular brakes. And if I run line over experimental car, of course, once I provide the toString, then I will get my experimental car with the information. So far, it looks like I'm not using nullable at all, right? Yeah, not really. Imagine that you would like to actually work with the value somehow. So I've just set it up to engine. So let's get our engine. I have my engine, and I would like to print what is the length of the word in the engine. Whoops. And here is the challenge, and also a cool thing about the Kotlin. If you have something what is nullable, you either need to escape it, where the result of the whole equation or whole function of or these of this code will be null. Or if you are brave enough and you are super ultra sure that the length will never ever be, or the engine will never ever be null, you can just forcefully access the variable, which I'm going to do right now. But I believe that we will agree on the fact that it simply looks ugly and it is hard to use. How we can avoid it, and that's something what I promised to show you, how to get rid of nullables. You have multiple options. The first option is very simple. When we're providing the information that it's variable, that we would like to set it up later on, and it's changeable, all what we need to do is just say that yes, it will be set up later on with this lateinit. If I will do it this way, and you see that I do not any longer need the exclamation marks. And if I run the code, it should again give me the 6. Great. You might be wondering what would happen if I would not really actually set it. Would it print the null as it previously did? No, it will crash. And it will directly tell you what you did wrong, because you actually in your code promised that you will set it up before using it. You didn't do that. There is no reason to continue in running the program. That's one option. The other option is, let's say that you know that once you instantiate your experimental car, you do not need a variable to be available immediately, or you might even have some provider which will later on obtain the value from, right? You might need the value on the first actually access to the variable. So let's have a look a little bit into how the Kotlin actually works. Let's do a little bit more print lines. What I'm going to show here is a demonstration how to how to postpone loading or initializing of the variables. This init is being executed during the constructor creation time. Let's create it. Great. And I would like this breaks to be val, like final. I said it once, and till the car runs, I do not need to change it. So I will say it's final. But at the same time, I don't want to set the final variable immediately. So what I can do is that I will say that I will lazily initialize it by something. And that something is my word breaks. What I did wrong. Yeah. By lazy. Yeah, sorry. Word order. Print line. Initialization of the breaks. With this set, I would expect to see this information quite some time after I actually constructed the experimental car. So let's have a look at how to do that. Okay, I can remove this one. What I'm doing, what I would expect here right now to see is actually just information about the data. The constructor got initialized. Let's confirm that. Cool, constructor created, and I obtained the value, which means I never ever accessed the breaks. Experimental car, sonic brakes. Let's run it once more. This is actually the first time when I try to obtain the information about the brakes. Line brakes. What I would expect now, and that's also what you see, it was initialized. After that, I printed this length, and only when I, pardon me, and only when I tried to access the breaks for the first time, it got initialized and it got printed out. As we are running a little bit out of time,
I will the code of the class back real quick.
Yes, sure. Is there anything specific you're looking for? Should I copy somewhere the code? Or are there any questions?
Just the by lazy definition of the method, or yeah, of this.
If you are interested in more details, as usual, and I and all teachers on this Kotlin Academy, we are including links to the documentation. So, and also to the playground Kotlin cones, which is really, really great. So if you would like to try, I would strongly recommend it. And I will leave this one task for you, so you can try it at home. And if something won't work for you, please let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to continue with the task number 5, because I really want to show you this cool thing. Okay, we're going to play with deconstructing the constructor. For that one, imagine that why would you use that? Can someone try to give me at least one name or one reason? Please, one reason to chat. You have multiple options. So if you're running a method, you're waiting for outputs of some computation. You either pass back the object with everything, and then you access each and everything. You can pass back the hash map or any other structure which will provide it. But again, you need to pass it. Is there some nicer way how to do that? Yes, there is actually a simpler way. You can use data class. Let's say result. Here I will call it model, and runtime would be long. By the way, it works with data class. So if I would like to just directly assign back, write this model runtime equals. Okay, let's do it more fun way. Well, result equals and here I can say text, and I will try to print model runtime the name of the variables is anything. It's just that was the first thing which bumped into my mind. And you see that I was able to deconstruct back the object just to variables, which could be pretty useful, especially, for example, if you're playing with for loop, or you would like to just easily process the results of any function. Okay. I did not use the fixed car. I used the result, but I hope that it was straightforward. The last but not least is the builders. And I believe this could be probably the most challenging part for the people. But don't worry about it. It's actually simple once you try it, at least for the first time. What I'm doing here is that what you see, I'm defining some car, engine, and then engine has some type. This is my definition of a new car. Relatively simple, pretty straightforward. Also, one of the reasons why I'm showing this builders, because it's you will bump into them very soon on the lessons where we are going to show you how to create or how to create HTTP server with Cater, and pretty much all the setup is done through the builders. But before you start to use them, let's have a look how they are actually internally working. What I did, I am trying to assign the result of the car, and it's screaming at me like, loudly. There is something wrong. I do not have the DSL set up here. So what? Let's just create it. In general, what the car is. Car is a function which is actually initializing. So I will call it init, and internally what it will do, it will call, it will work over the car, return nothing, or with the init function will provide me no output, no expected output. If I would like to obtain the output from it, then I could, of course, use it. And the result will be car. Oh, I'm mentioning some car. I never actually use it. So let's just create car. And I have my car. But I need to conform to what I actually said here, which means that all I need to do is create a car. Right? Why I'm creating car? Because here in this init, I'm actually saying that I will run it over the car object. So, car.init. If you are wondering what the hell I'm doing, or does it need to be always called init? No, it could be init ttt. I'm on purpose currently showing really crazy names so that you see that it is different, or that it really, the name itself does not really matter. And as you can see, I've just created the implementation for this one. So this builder car creates a car, and internally it is already car. I will need also something super similar for the engine, with the fact that engine will be a little bit more trickier. Let's get to it soon. So engine is sort of analogy of the previous setup. I'm going to use again the init, with the fact that I'm using engine. I'm going to pass in the method, which is over there, and that one is not returning anything. And it is returning, of course, engine in the end. So var engine false. Engine init and return engine. Okay, almost done. You see that it was super simple to actually create this builder. I have first builder, which takes, which creates an instance, and on that instance, it's running, on that given instance, it's actually applying this lambda. What's happening inside? Again, I'm creating engine, brand new instance of an object engine, or of a class engine. And on that one, I'm going to run this one. But what type is not being set? Because I do not have it set. Well, let's do it this way. String type, it needs to be initialized. And if I would run it, Control R. Actually, it should not break, which it did not, which is great for me. Another approach, what will you see in some examples, is this one. And in this particular case, it's again super simple. You just create a function which has string as an input. And in order to show you that it was actually running the whole thing, I can print the string. Okay, product, it's there. We are out of the time. Oh, let's say we have lost 3 minutes. If you have any questions, now it's the best time to ask. Otherwise, I will ask you to have a look at this tasks for recap. Hopefully it should be simple. If not, please let me know and I will do my best to answer to you. Eventually, I will provide the implementation of this task recap to you later on. Also, together with the whole code which was used on this lesson.